Thank you for having me. Good morning, members of the police board. My name is Talia, and I am a member of the organization Winnipeg Police Cause Harm. I am a human rights major, and I will be speaking to you today about the Winnipeg Police Services Flight Operations Unit, specifically regarding its impact on community members. The police helicopter is one of the most visible symbols of police presence in the city. For anyone who lives in or near downtown, it often feels and sounds like an omnipresent reality, especially late at night when people are trying to sleep. However, based on the Winnipeg Police's own data, almost nobody is bothered by it. The MNP review of flight operations reported that the unit received an average of 6.4 noise complaints annually for the last 7 years, but the first 2 years of operations had significantly more complaints than the last 5 years. In the last 5 years, there have been 5 or less complaints per year. Furthermore, the 2020 operational report indicated that there were only 7 helicopter noise concerns registered during that year. An average of 6.4 noise complaints per year is about 1 every 2 months. This struck us as incredibly low given how many people are affected by the helicopter. Winnipeg Police Cause Harm decided to look into how one could go about reporting a noise complaint. On August 24th of 2020, the police responded to a tweet by a resident who was kept awake by the helicopter well after midnight. The resident had tagged the city and the police in addition to their city councillor in an attempt to know who a noise complaint could be directed to. The city's Twitter account responded that the resident should call the police non-emergency line. The police Twitter account responded roughly 3 hours later, stating that the resident should call the airport's 24-hour noise line. After calling the airport noise line, residents were told that the airport could not accept complaints about the police helicopter and that the residents should call 311 to complain about the persistent disturbances caused by the police helicopter. The City of Winnipeg recently launched a police helicopter noise concerns webpage with the aim of providing the public an opportunity to voice their helicopter complaints. The Police Helicopter Noise Concerns webpage advised members of the public that questions about the collection of the information can be answered by the Flight's Operations Unit Coordinator. The 2020 operational report also elaborated on the Police Helicopter Noise Concerns webpage, referring to it as a robust process which addressed resident complaints. Winnipeg Police Cause Harm attempted to reach out to the Flight Operations Unit Coordinator to gauge the robusticity of the helicopter complaint process. Namely, we asked questions pertaining to where complaints go once they are submitted and how they are implemented or reflected in flight operations. Our call to the Flight Operations Unit Coordinator, placed on May 27th of 2021, was answered by Officer Kelly, badge number 2079. Officer 2079 informed us that the Police Helicopter Noise Concerns webpage was launched in April of 2021, but he could not provide any further information on the complaints process and later referred us to the Information's Office. Upon contacting the Information's Office on the same day, we were connected to another officer, Danny, badge number 2436. Officer 2436 was surprised that the call was diverted from the Flight Operations Unit Coordinator, and she encouraged us to email our questions to the Information's Office. Additionally, Officer 2436 indicated that the Information Office was not equipped to answer questions regarding the helicopter complaints, but could reroute our inquiries to the correct place. In the meantime, there appears to be no public record of helicopter complaints aside from the data indicated by the MNP report conducted in 2019 and the operational report in 2020. In March of 2021, Winnipeg Police Cause Harm created an online questionnaire which residents could fill out, detailing the date and time of the disturbance, their general area in the city, how the disturbance affected them, and how often they generally heard the helicopter. In the first 2 weeks of the survey, Winnipeg Police Cause Harm received over 150 submissions. As of the beginning of April, Winnipeg Police Cause Harm received over 400 submissions. A response from a resident in Osborne Village read, "The copter was operating from 1:30 a.m. Friday morning until 3 a.m. All it was doing was circling around the Osborne Village for hours. I had an extreme spike in anxiety and my heart was pounding through my chest because I could not sleep until 4 a.m. The most populous area of the city, and it runs and runs for hours on end in the middle of the night, many times a week. I'm going insane. Make it stop." A response submitted from a resident in St. Boniface read, "I was trying to work and I have to crank the sound on meetings to be able to hear, but that distorts the sound and makes it echoey. It's harder for people to hear me, also with that additional background noise." Another response submitted from Crescentwood read, "Forced awake by the terrorizing noise. It's been every single night. There's no rest. The police would never allow this in their own communities, but they don't even live here." West Broadway resident responses read, "The helicopter often circles when I am reading before bed, around 11 p.m. on weeknights or 1:30 a.m. on weekends. It disturbs my ability to fall asleep, but also to have some time of quiet focus at the end of my day, which I value as much as any suburban homeowner." Finally, "It's annoying and disruptive, nearly always happening at night when the neighborhood is otherwise quiet and peaceful. Rather than being a reassurance of peace and safety, it makes my home feel like a dangerous combat zone." The responses above represent a sample of the feedback Winnipeg residents submitted on the survey conducted by Winnipeg Police Cause Harm. Overwhelmingly, citizens indicated that the police helicopter negatively impacted their lives on a regular basis. Winnipeg Police Cause Harm was able to correlate the times of these complaints with the publicly available flight tracking data to confirm that the police helicopter was indeed flying at the time when the complaints were submitted. The helicopter survey conducted by Winnipeg Police Cause Harm contradicts the findings within the 2019 MNP report and the 2020 operational report, which stated that there are only 6.4 and 9 helicopter noise complaints accordingly. Furthermore, page 7 of the 2019 MNP report indicated that the majority of respondents from both the phone and online surveys live in districts 2 and 4, large areas that represent the western and eastern halves of the city, respectively. It appears that many of the people who responded to this survey do not live in the areas where the helicopter flies regularly. Comparing flight tracking data, density of occurrences data, and the areas where the majority of surveys respondents live confirmed that most citizens impacted by the helicopter's noise and presence were a significant minority engaging public opinion about the helicopter. Contrary to the Twitter messages praising the police helicopter used in the 2020 operational report, Winnipeg Police Cause Harm survey results indicated that there are many people in Winnipeg who are deeply and negatively impacted by the police helicopter. The City of Winnipeg website dedicated to police helicopter noise concerns is evidently lacking transparency. Winnipeg residents have the right to submit a complaint to the city regarding helicopter operations, thereby voicing the direct impact that the helicopter has on their day-to-day lives. However, we hope to emphasize that the city's obligations towards its citizens does not end at providing a complaint mechanism, but extends to ensuring public access to information pertaining to helicopter complaints. Members of the public should not be diverted from one office to another in order to acquire confirmation that their complaints are being taken seriously. We are calling on the police board and the City of Winnipeg to implement transparency and accountability about how police helicopter complaints are logged and implemented when making policy, funding, and operational decisions. Furthermore, residents' complaints, non-anonymous Twitter messages should inform the operational decisions of the Winnipeg Police Helicopter. Additionally, the city needs to clarify and promote its complaint process. Aspects concerning who handles police complaints and how they are implemented must be accessible and unambiguous. Complaints should be published and categorized by geographical area and content into public record. Surely, if a small group of volunteers can do this in their spare time on a $0 budget, the city can make this happen with similar ease. The publicizing of helicopter complaints introduces an element of accountability while ensuring representation as a factor in helicopter operations. Specifically, displaying complaints publicly enables residents to gauge the effect their complaints have on helicopter operations. It also enables the accurate representation of often over-policed communities who are currently underrepresented in the MNP report data. Finally, we ask the city to approach helicopter operations from an evidence-based perspective, which takes the direct input of residents most affected into account. Winnipeg recently hosted its first Anti-Racism Week, which aimed to introduce a citywide conversation exploring ways to identify and eliminate systemic racism in our city. Winnipeg Police Cause Harm survey indicated that marginalized communities in Winnipeg's core are disproportionately and negatively impacted and yet remain underrepresented in city-led data informing helicopter operations. We cannot hope to begin a conversation addressing systemic racism until our municipal governments decides and dedicates itself unequivocally to engaging and responding to the voices, concerns, and needs of marginalized communities in Winnipeg. The millions of dollars which the city has invested in the police helicopter are better utilized in life-sustaining services such as mental health supports and housing, as opposed to contributing to the overpolicing of marginalized community members. It is incumbent for the police board to reassess policing practices and budgets, which include the Winnipeg Police helicopter, to
Talia,
end. Yes.
you've run out of your 10-minute allotment. Do you have much more to go?
No,
Or-
I maybe 2 more minutes.
Okay, if I can get somebody to move extension.
Thank you very much.
All in favor? Okay, please proceed. You've got 2 minutes to finish, wrap up. Thank you.
Thank you. It is incumbent for the police board to reassess policing practices and budgets, which include the Winnipeg Police helicopter, to end what Robert Maynard referred to as the continuation of historical devaluation of Black, Indigenous, and ethnic minorities in Winnipeg. We call on the city and the police board to honor and protect civic rights enshrined in the International Covenant on Civic and Political Rights ratified in Canada by Canada in 1976, and granting citizens agency, liberty, while emphasizing transparent, responsive, and accountable governing. On a final note, I would like to encourage the Winnipeg Police Board to reconsider the policy on publicizing pertinent records, which include the 2020 helicopter operational report, which was publicized just yesterday prior to our meeting today. The police board ought to publicize these reports to encourage engagement and awareness amongst the public instead of abstracting it. Thank you so much for your time and for the extension.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Councillor Mays?
Thank you for the presentation. That was very well researched, well presented. I guess 2 things. Given that I have complained rather bitterly at times here about governing by Twitter, I think it's only fair that if that you raise that concern about we shouldn't have to have people anonymously or people having to file complaints by Twitter. So I'll certainly follow up on that. I think that's a very fair point you're raising. I guess, and we'll have to ask some of the questions about the helicopter. My only other comment would be the purchase of the helicopter, I know predates the creation of the police board, which is to whom you're presenting, of course, because the helicopter had been purchased just before I got elected the first time, and the police board came on stream about a year and a half after I first got in. So it's a reality that we deal with that we'll ask questions about. But I thank you for raising the points. That was you'd obviously done a lot of research and a lot of homework on that. So we will follow up. I'm not sure if that's today or when, but you make a good point, not one that I had heard before. So thank you for raising.
Any other questions? Talia, from a noise complaint perspective, do you track other helicopters such as the Stars Air 1 ambulance or those that are used by the city for mosquito or pest control larviciding?
Unfortunately, like I said, we are a volunteer basis, and we have directed our efforts at addressing the noise complaints caused and the noise disturbances caused by the Winnipeg Police helicopter. I would ask the councillors and those who are obligated by their positions to perhaps look at noise disturbances that expand beyond the Winnipeg Police helicopter.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions? Thank you for your presentation this morning. Have a great day.
Thank you.